Good evening. Welcome to the meeting of the Plymouth Community School Board for June 7, 2017. If you'll join us in the pledge, please. Our pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our first item will be to set the agenda. Dan, do we have any additions or corrections?
Just a couple here. 2.6 resignations. We have Elise Watson, Plymouth High School, Trenton Porter, Riverside Intermediate, and Beth Burke at PHS. Appointments. We have Caitlin Diane at PHS, Elizabeth Meyer at Jefferson, Eric McIntyre at Webster, Anna Manwaring at PHS, Carrie Bradway at PHS, and Kayla Sharp at Washington Discovery Academy. Transfers, David Schoaf to Director of Operations to Director of Facilities and Maintenance, Brenda Usney, Assistant Transportation Director to Transportation Director, and Brandon Berger, Transportation Assistant to Assistant Transportation Director. Conferences, accidentally left all of them out, so all 21 of them in there are actually additions. 2.14, student activity requests, WSOI, 9th grade trip to Canoe State Park. Donation report, included tonight, you have Menominee's donation report, affidavits. Number 2 was added. 2.32 Umbral Advisory Service Agreement, and Business Agenda Edition 2.37 Project Update. We've added the timeline.
Just a few. With that, I'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda as amended.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. Any questions? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item 1.3, thank you all for being here this evening. At this time, I will ask if there are any agenda items that anyone in the audience would like to speak to this evening.
I don't know exactly what's on it, but I have a press thing that I'd like to pass out.
A what?
A press release.
We're not the press, but okay.
Pardon me, but I just like to, I don't know exactly what's all on your thing, but most of you know who I am. I'm the owner of Mooney's here in town. And the board, somebody on this board is asking teachers and administrators at the junior high school to not frequent my shop. Okay, I have done nothing. Jeff, I know you're going to want to have one of these. Is there anybody here from the press? Okay, I'd love to give you a copy of that as well. So you all can take a time. I don't know exactly everything that's on your agenda, but I know this isn't. But I hope very soon it is.
Thank you. And just
If there's anybody,
if it's helpful, there are agendas on that table right outside the door.
Yes.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak to agenda items this evening? We'll have another opportunity near the end of the meeting. Again, thank you for being here. Section 2 is our consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda as amended that a board member would like to have pulled and considered separately? The only thing I will note is I'm going to, I don't think to pull it, but I'm going to abstain on 2.32. I don't think we have to pull it. I just want the record to show I'll be abstaining on that. So I'll entertain a motion regarding the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion in 2 seconds. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, and again, I am abstaining on 2.32. All right, business transactions. Our first item this evening, 3.1, is to consider superintendent appointment. As everyone, I'm sure, is aware, the man to my right is retiring. We've had so many parties that I'm not sure we're going to turn this one into a not for Dan, we're just happy he's, no, I'm kidding. We'll have an opportunity for anybody to say what they would like. But the item at hand is the appointment of replacing our superintendent with a new one. The process that we have gone through, just in quick summary, over the last few months, obviously advertising the position, outlining the characteristics of Plymouth Community Schools and what our vision is for Plymouth Community Schools, what we're looking for in terms of the superintendent filling this role, helping to lead the corporation. We received, I forget the exact number, we received a number of applications for the position, as you might imagine. And going through, based on criteria that the board felt was important to that position, narrowed the field down, conducted interviews, and here we are this evening to make an appointment. And at this point, I will open it up to any board member that wants to make a motion.
Mr. Samuelson, I'd like to recommend Andy Hartley as the superintendent of Plymouth Schools.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Mr. Andy Hartley as superintendent of Plymouth Community Schools. Discussion. Oh, come on, there's got to be something. And I'm calling for discussion from the board at this point. You know, I'll start. I say this too often, but I'm going to say it again. I've been on this board probably too long. But in being on the board, there's a lot of things that we are charged and asked to do. And I'm proud to serve with the members on this board and previous members on this board in my time here. And many things that we do are important, very important to the school corporation. Some may seem very minute as we crawl through policies, as we crawl through whatever that build up, and everything is kind of a build up, if you will, of things that are necessary to run an organization like the school corporation. And it touches just about everybody in the community one way or another, whether directly with students that may be in the school that you're parents of or friends of or grandparents of. And I found in my time that everybody can really almost determine that they're an expert about schools because most of us have been through school. So that makes us an expert. And that's all fine, and we appreciate all the input that we receive. Where I'm headed with all of this is, you know, as we do a lot of things, nothing probably is more important in terms of what the board does than choose a superintendent. And I appreciate everyone on this board and how seriously we have taken this task, the steps and the procedures that we've gone through. And quite honestly, I don't think we could have come up with a better candidate and a better appointment than Andy. And so the question comes up, well, if that was the result, why go through it? He's been here the whole time. Because we need to go through that process, because that's what we're charged to do. And you go through a process, and it's fair to everyone in this room, everyone in this community for us to do that. It's fair to the board and what we're charged to do. And quite honestly, it's fair to Andy. He knows what we're looking for. He knows, and we know what is important to him. And, you have a sense of that in working with somebody, but it's different when you're going through and really focusing on the questions at hand of where we're at, and more importantly, where are we going. And Andy, congratulations. But I use this in my line of work, and I use it at home, and I'll use it here. Sometimes how do you make a selection, or how do you choose? And in my opinion, the individual tells me, I don't tell them, when they are the right person for the position. And it's our job to recognize that. And again, I couldn't be more confident in the selection that we have made. Now,
I'm personally looking forward to working with you, Andy.
I would just comment, Sammy, that I think during the time period that Dan was out due to his illness and surgery, Andy filled in not only his role as assistant superintendent, but also as superintendent. And I think this was a good evaluation and a good test of what you could handle and how you handled it. And I received nothing but very positive feedback from everyone that I spoke with. And to me, you proved that you could do the job, and I'm glad you're here, Coleman. Appreciate it.
And I would just say that, during this process, when we knew that Dan was going to retire, I talked to a lot of parents, I talked to a lot of teachers, and the qualities that they told me they would like to see in our superintendent, which I agree with, Andy had nearly all of them. So I would also echo all you gentlemen's wishes, and I truly know that we have made the right choice.
And as the newbie, I found out a lot more about what the superintendent actually does, how much more it entails than I thought. And I just have a lot of respect, and I appreciate all the help you've given me.
any other comments? We have a motion and a second to appoint Mr. Andy Hartley as superintendent of Plymouth Community School Corporation. I'm sorry? Amend the motion? All right, I'm going to ask, you could have told me that before I went through. If you were here at the last meeting, the contract, can we have, who made the motion, Larry? Can you amend your motion, please, to include that it's for a 3-year contract?
I will amend my motion to a 3-year contract for the new superintendent.
And I will second that.
Mr. Hartley.
Amendment and that change.
All right. Everybody cool?
Good.
Are you good? All right. Jeff, are you good?
Sounds good to me.
All right. So we have an appropriate motion and an appropriate second now. All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, item 3.2. Seems like these are all important. This, we are now to consider a Washington Discovery Academy principal appointment.
Well, it's a pleasure to recommend Lauren Cooper as the next principal at Washington Discovery Academy. Through the resignation of Jeff Spencer, who's relocating to Indianapolis to be closer to family, this position was created. We had over 30 applicants for the position, a rigorous process of screening and interviewing, and through that process, she was very clearly the top choice. She comes to us from within, and her experience, the expertise that she brings to us into the school has been highly valuable. In addition to the relationships that she's established throughout her time here, she's going to be a great principal for Washington Discovery Academy, and it's with that enthusiasm that we bring that recommendation to you.
Very good.
For a 2-year contract.
This job's not done.
Let's get it on the table. You've heard the recommendation, do I have a motion?
I'll move that we appoint Lauren Cooper as the administrator at Washington Discovery Academy.
For 2 years.
For 2 years.
I'll second.
A motion and second, discussion. Comments?
I want to thank Jeff for all he's done too. And I'm looking forward to working with Lauren.
Same here, Jeff, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff.
With that, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
So how do we top those two? We go to the handbook. 3.3, the Plymouth High School handbook edition and presentation.
Thanks, Todd.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Good luck.
Man,
So-
how did I end up on this agenda?
Real quickly, we do have, this is an addition to be acknowledged tonight, but with it, and the, I'll say the seriousness of the information that we're going to put in there, Dr. Stilson has been really helpful to the athletic council, who initially started this discussion, and then to the handbook committee as well. And we really felt it important for you to hear from him, the perspective that he provided when we considered adding this new language.
Yeah.
Dr. Stilson, thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Many of you know I've served as a team physician with the school for a number of years. I don't know how many exactly, but it's been a while since I've been here in the community. And the information I'm sharing with you today has been vetted through an all coaches meeting for the system as well, and gotten plenty of feedback in response to them, with really a lot of support from them in regards to the policy that's before you in terms of the handbook edition, and I think that's in the document. I'm going to go through just a couple of slides just to educate you a little bit in terms of the process. And the heart of this is really safety of our student health, students, athletes in the system, as well as some corporate liability that exists in this whole process of the numbers of supplements and performance-enhancing products that are out there that people are using on a regular basis, quite frankly. This is a national issue and something that our system is kind of taking on and being in the forefront in the process of trying to include this in the student handbook. And I'm glad for that. I was in a meeting in San Diego, a national meeting for sports medicine, and this is again something that's going on all the way through the country, from high school all the way up through the professional levels. And so just to kind of provide some information for you, and I assume this will go like that. Yep, okay, good. So why is this important? So Ryan Carroll, as you know, one of our head trainers in the high school, talking to him this spring, walking through the guys' locker room, he looked into several lockers in the locker room, and there was approximately 11 to 13 lockers that had products of some type that you see on this screen inside their gymnasium locker, that he didn't know what they were exactly or what was in those things, okay? And so that's kind of a real-time sort of like, what's going on here, right here in our school property, and what's going on in our locker rooms, and what are these products and where are they coming from, right? That's a reasonable question. We know with all the other products that come into the school, we have a very strict regulatory process with that. And so that kind of brought forward this kind of idea of what are we doing or what should we do? And the council met, talked about it, and then took this to the coaches. Just so you know, this is a really big issue around the country, and it's because a lot of companies are marketing this information and marketing these products. Now, I know all of you would like to think that all those companies really have the student athlete's best interest in mind, right, when it comes to marketing. That's not always the case. And probably a lot of you in this room use various nutritional support products for a whole host of things every day, okay? And student athletes are much like you. But we see this in the area of bodybuilding, endurance sports, and weight management. And there's a lot of trends and a lot of commercials and a lot of products that are really in a growing, burgeoning industry that's going on in our country today. And our student athletes are very much in the center of it because they're always looking for something that may enhance their performance. Just so you know, though, the Dietary Supplements and Health Education Act of 1994 limits the fact that the Food and Drug Administration is not in charge of these products. Okay? So because these are natural products that end up on the over-the-counter shelves at any store, any grocery, any pharmacy, that anybody can go buy at any point, including Amazon, etc., the FDA is not involved. So as much as you might like to think that this area is sort of regulated and somebody's making sure that everything's being done properly, it's not. And again, so that gets back into some of the marketing of this. In fact, you can see that 18.6 of U.S. supplements contain anabolic steroids. That's not even legal. Okay? 18.6%. And the people who are taking them don't know that it's in there. But you know why the companies put those in there? Because it leads to better results for the people who are taking them, and therefore they go buy that product again and again and again. And so that's nearly 20% of U.S. supplements have anabolic steroids in them, again, which are illegal. So although you may think it's a simple area to deal with, it's actually more complex and more diverse than you think.
Can I ask a question? Maybe not on that particular component, but are there sometimes components in here that maybe you say they do this for performance, so that
Yes.
makes them want more, but is there anything in any of these that someone becomes dependent on?
There can be, actually, when it comes to some of the stimulants, okay, and we'll kind of get into some of those, but, and I don't want to diverge into too much pharmacology and too much stuff like that, okay? But it does exist, and so, yeah, there are some dependent-related things that people can get involved in using some of these, okay? And to be quite frankly, most of our student athletes, there's nobody typically trying to do something bad, okay, but very small percentage. But what's happening is a lot of our student athletes are using these and not realizing actually the implications of using them and some of the liability that we take on as a school system if we let it happen on our grounds, so to speak. The strengths of the products can vary. There's a lot of things that are found in them, from lead to pesticides to arsenic to mercury. And all of these products, because they're unregulated by the FDA. And the effectiveness of many of these products are unknown. And so it's a big issue. So look here in the middle school and high school students, and this was done about 3 or 4 years ago, the number of middle school and high school students that use protein supplements, 35%. Other muscle-enhancing supplements, 11%, and then steroids. I mean, this is illegal. But up to 6% of boys are using steroids, and 5% of girls are using steroids on national studies. And we kind of see these numbers all the way through. And so I'm not here to tell you that we shouldn't be using steroids, because you know we shouldn't. But there's a whole lot of other stuff that are in these products that our students are using. Why is this the case? And I want you to see this as kind of a spectrum sort of process. Everybody wants to run faster. Everybody wants to get stronger. Everybody wants to perform better, right, when you're a student athlete, typically. And not just student athletes. A lot of extracurricular members of our student body are using things that help in their performance. You can see under the speed, caffeine, well, a lot of you walked in this morning probably with a cup of coffee, right? All right, why did you do that? Wakes you up a little bit, helps perform a little bit better. But there's kind of a gray line that you get into. So energy drinks are another one of those. Then you get into medications, Adderall, amphetamines, cocaine, methamphetamines. These are all part of the continuum that exists for stronger protein supplements, amino acids, creatine, etc. And then for really performing better. Sugar, that's another one that a lot of you probably use as well, all right? And so, you kind of have to be careful here in the slippery slope that you get into when it comes to what you're going to get involved in and sort of regulate and what you're not going to try and regulate. All right, when you look at caffeine as an example, this is a busy slide, but it kind of gives you an idea of how much caffeine is found in many common products out there. You can kind of see right in the middle, an 8-ounce cup of coffee has 100 milligrams of caffeine in it. Okay, so that's an 8-ounce cup of coffee, all the way up to 5-Hour Energy, which is 242 milligrams of caffeine. And I'll tell you, quite frankly, studies show that a little bit of caffeine does enhance focus. It does enhance concentration. It might even enhance a little bit of performance. But the question is how much, and how much is too much, and where do we draw the line, right? It's a very difficult subject when it comes to this. I can tell you the NCAA has a rule that they will not allow a student athlete to consume more than 250 milligrams of caffeine up to 3 hours prior to the athletic event. So, so can they take 250 milligrams 4 hours prior? Sure, okay. And that's based on a urine concentration of how much caffeine, and they get tested on a regular basis. Because we know caffeine does have somewhat of a positive effect, okay? And so what do we want to propose here? We want to propose that really we want no performance-enhancing products on school property. I mean, the simplest way to go about doing this is to simply say, we don't want any of this stuff here on the school property because of the liability concerns. And because, frankly, our approach is we want our student athletes to have good nutrition, high-protein diets, and perform to their best naturally, not unnaturally. And frankly, most student athletes don't need that maybe 0.1 or 1% difference that any performance-enhancing product that is safe and that is okay will make a difference in their performance. Most of it, frankly, just doesn't matter. So we don't even need to get into the splitting of hairs, whether it's okay or not okay, and really just try and stay out of it, to be frank. Some of the policy points, we don't intend to control what they use outside school property. Okay, so we're not going to go into homes and say, well, what do you have in your cabinets, okay? That's not where this is meant to go. But we do want to do some education to the student athletes on what the best nutrition is and what the best way to approach this is, and really the best way to stay away from it, okay? This blanket policy really would encourage us to stay away from caffeine supplements, energy drinks, protein supplements, and then a number of the vitamins and herbs, okay? And we don't want to create a comprehensive list of product names, okay? That could go on and on and on and on. Trust me, that's like a never-ending thing, okay? But we want to kind of make the point we want to keep all of it out. The one exception I would make is down here at the bottom, is that we do want to allow for the exception of Gatorade, kind of sports protein bars and carb bars, okay? What you can kind of think of as Clif bars, okay? There are some places where it would be acceptable to have these sort of products in the right setting and be of no concern. So I use those name brands, but there are some non-name brands that fit into the same category. And most of us on our coaching staff, most of us in the administration, as well as the healthcare team, kind of have some idea what those are and what the safety of those. I will also say there are some athletes that may be going through a specific recovery process and maybe under a doctor's or a trainer's guidance, maybe using some products that are natural but may be part of their therapeutic regimen in recovery. That's an exception to this as well. We're not going to make a big deal about it, but we do want some documentation to support why they may be using it on school property in those cases, okay? So it's easy to have a policy that kind of sounds real blanket-like and really nice and perfect, but as we all know, there's usually a few exceptions to every rule, right? And student athletes usually find them too. Okay. So there may be some occasions when it may kind of have to go outside of that, but that's going to be under somebody else's guidance. And it's just a reminder to our student athletes there are no shortcuts to success, right? So trying to do something that's going to somehow improve their performance by a little bit, you know what, that's not worth the effort and not worth the risk of doing it as well. There is an organization called the Taylor Hooten Foundation, and under the support of the school administration, we hope to actually apply for a grant through the Community Foundation to have the Taylor Hooten Foundation come into our school system and provide educational conference for our student athletes, for our parents, and to talk about nutrition supplements. And this is an organization that comes into the community and really blankets the community and does education in it. So really a heart of this is not just to ban something. The heart of it is really to educate and to safely allow our student athletes to perform at their maximum, but to do it in a healthy manner that doesn't put them at risk or the school system at risk. So, all right, so that's enough talking for you probably, unless you have questions for me. So the proposal for the handbook edition, though, is kind of, you can see how that's worded in here. And Roy, I think, put that together for the handbook. Roy, he put that together. How it's worded.
And I guess, thank you, first of all. So what is the proposed language?
Okay,
I
so-
see points, I mean, is that?
So not, those talking points in the handout I gave to you, Todd, those are not in the proposed, so the proposed handbook
sorry.
is in your agenda, and it's
Yeah,
in bold.
okay, I thought it was part of this.
Nope, it's not part of that. So that proposed handbook, that was a kind of a prolonged version of your why.
Okay. I've got that here, yeah.
So, and I welcome any questions from the board in regards to this. I realize it is a little bit challenging because it is so common and pervasive, these products in our culture today and in the school system today. And it is a little bit challenging to perhaps try and enforce this. But yet I think it's an important one for us as a school to take a stance on for our students' safety.
I certainly agree with the presentation, Doc, and I would recommend that this be approved for our student handbook.
Need a motion and a second?
This is not an action item.
Isn't it? Okay.
And if there's anything that you don't understand about it, feel free to, even not at the board meeting, if you want to talk to me sometime. Most of you know me, know where I am, know how to get a hold of me. And I'm happy to speak to you at any time to even elaborate a little bit further about any of these areas. Obviously, our athletic trainers are on the front line in many regards when it comes to this. But you as administrators are as well, because you see the host of stuff that come into the school. We will plan to, if this is approved, do an educational session for all the student athletes and their parents in our fall meeting. Just sort of really review probably the same information, same slides, same sort of stuff with them to, again, in the spirit of educating, not just kind of banning something.
Well, this particular addition does not need to be approved. I would suggest that this be also taken to the Wellness Committee to be reviewed, and at that point, then it would be brought back to the board to amend the Wellness Committee for a statement that makes sense with this and everything else.
Any other questions from any questions?
All right, thank you for letting me come and share that information with you.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Doc.
Appreciate it very much.
I'm sorry, Todd, you didn't get a round of applause.
Not quite as interesting a subject, right?
When you have to profit, I don't know. All right, thank you. 3.4, consider textbook fees, for grades K through 12.
Yes, it is that time of year. And over the last couple months, we did adopt a new science program, grades 3 through 12. And we also adopted a new health textbook at Lakeview Junior High and at the high school. So really, those are the only changes that you're going to see within the textbook fees. For the most part, K to 2 stayed the same because there were no new adoptions. There was a slight increase in grades 3 and 4 to reflect new science. Actually, Riverside textbook fees went down. And then 7th and 8th grade, just a slight increase given the science and health.
You see the high school there as well. It's hard to say whether things will up or down, just because it's dependent on what courses. But it also reflects the science and health. And then to Mr. Kaufman and his team, pare things down and always make sure we're in compliance with Board of Accounts expectations too. So changes reflected there.
So these are presented to you for your approval.
Thank you. You've got the information or have received, and here the recommendation. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the textbook fees as presented for grades K through 12. Questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. 3.5, establish individual bonds for business manager, deputy treasurer, and NIESC administrative assistant.
Yes, this is a requirement according to Indiana code,
and we have applied for the bonds, and it would be one for myself, one for Wendy Haynes as deputy treasurer, and Sherry Emery, that is the business manager up at Northern Indiana Educational Service Center. And the reason this is being done is because we are the legal entity agent for them, and we have to legally run it past as a for bonds. And they have been filed at the recorder's office as required by law.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. My only question, why, isn't this a different part of the year? Typically,
They
it's
changed it.
Thank you.
Yes, the State Board of Accounts changed the timing of it to be July 1. Effective July 1.
So did we account for that last January?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
You did it twice. We did a 6-month one, and then now this will run for a year.
So we did not have a gap.
No, we did not have that. I wouldn't want a gap.
I suspected not. But I just didn't recall. I knew this was a big gap. So this is effective July 1. Any other questions or comments? All in favor, we have a motion second, right? Yeah. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, 3.6, this is our first reading on revised policies.
Just a few here from the Wellness Committee, actually, and they have been working with a nutritionist from the Service Center, as well as some new regulations that have come through from the federal government for federal lunch programs. So as you look through those, if you have questions, please let me know, and we'll be back next week for the second reading.
As we do that, and please let Andy know if we have any questions. Todd, maybe I forgot that I should have asked the question. Is there any, we're talking about the high school handbook, right? Is there any, I don't want to make this bigger than it should be, but do we have middle school, I mean, is there a Lincoln?
Our intent is to extend it to Lincoln,
Okay.
to
Maybe you said
junior
that.
high, so I'm not sure formality-wise if there is a Lincoln handbook. It needs to go
The
to-
handbook actually is K-12, so it'll be included in the student handbook, part of the high school addendum, or part of the whole thing.
All right, I got confused. I thought it was specifically for Mr. Olson.
We're
just
starting
waving
with,
his hand.
yeah, we're starting with high school. So
Very
the
nice.
idea is to.
I'm sorry?
We're starting at the high school with the idea of moving it down as we go. It's in the high school addendum.
Thank you. So not an action item this evening, but please review any questions. Please bring those forward. This will be on our agenda at the next meeting. 3.7, project update.
Yes, so as you know, we had a hearing for the construction project of the junior high. There was a 30-day period during that time where petitions could be filed against the project. None were filed. So at this point, we need to start looking onward and upward to work through the process of designing and starting the construction of the new junior high. A couple of things, as we look at this, the very first thing that we need to do is we need to look at the purchase of the property at the far east side of the junior high. And that is owned by Mr. David Fortin, and he actually came to us about it. So we are right now in the process of looking at that. Our board policy requires that we have 2 appraisals. The reason that we're looking for that is because of the 50-foot setback that has to be around the building for fire safety. And if we don't have that property, we can't do that. So it creates an issue where we're going to have to do a lot more construction within the building than if we have that 50-foot setback. So it's actually going to be about a break-even process. That's what kind of we're expecting the price of that building to be in the tearing down of it. But it will help in the making that building safer. So that's one of the things we're moving forward on right now. Mr. Schoaf has already contacted the assessors. We've already talked to Mr. Fortin, and we'll just now in hurry up and wait mode. But as far as kind of a rough outline, June the 17th, we start the design development, and our first meeting is June the 16th. We will have a neighbor from the neighborhood joining us at that meeting, so we can talk about being good neighbors and what we can do. Because I don't think anybody wants to have a house that looks at a big dumpster full of trash all the time. So, in being good neighbors, we would like to work with some people from the neighborhood so they can see that we're going through the process of keeping them in mind as we build that. February and March of 2018, bidding and contract award. April of 2018 would be, depending on the weather, would start the construction of the main building and the eastern site work. April and May of 2020 would be when construction would be completed on the main building and eastern site work. June 20th would be starting the demolition. June of 2020 would start the demolition and renovation of the old junior high. August 2020 would be occupy the new junior high, and fall of 2020 would be be able to occupy the renovated old junior high, what's left of it. And that gives you kind of a rundown of the very basic schedule for the process. So once we get started, it's a 2.5-year process. So we have 3.5-year process from now. I'm sure that Andy will keep you updated on this. One of the things we'll need to do in that time period between here and now is talk about change orders and what the price of the change order should be before we bring them back to the board. Before we do that, that's something we haven't had to deal with since the last major building project, but certainly we want to have that done again this time. And of course, our architect, Barton Covellma, Ryan Bolander, is here. You'll probably get used to seeing his face as he likes to stay in contact with the board and board meetings throughout the project. So, and if there are any questions, I'll answer them. If not, that's all I have.
Brian, anything you wanted to add to the outline?
No, thank you.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Since you're here. And I know things can change, but based on this general outline, just your sense of bidding a project in February, March, to me, it seems like a good time. But I'm not an architect and I'm not bidding projects all the time. So.
Sure. No, I think it tends to be a good time in the winter. Contractors are looking to line things up for the next construction season, usually at that time. So we're also hoping there's quite a bit of a construction boom right now in a lot of areas. So hopefully some of that's tapering off into that lull period. So I mean, I don't know that there would be a better time necessarily to do it than that. So I think it's a good opportunity, good timing for this project.
Any other questions? No action needed this evening, but questions? I'm glad to hear that the neighborhood will be represented. That's important. As we heard a few meetings ago, that they certainly will have questions and honestly should be a part of the process. So hurry up and wait on the east side property, generally speaking. What are we talking about, a month or so to get through all that?
As far as the thing, I mean, houses are selling very quickly right now, so there are only 2 appraisers in Plymouth, so it makes it very difficult. But right now we are 4 weeks out, so yeah, maybe 2 months before we get back here.
Okay. And as far as the schedule that you need running, that works.
Yeah, I think so. I think it fits in. We're gonna make some assumptions about how the building can lay out, and then if we find out different, then adjust.
Seems to me that gives us a little more flexibility.
Yeah, it would be nice to have.
Other questions? Thank you for the update. So let's move on then to section 4. And if my math is correct, this will be, Mr. Tyree, your last opportunity for superintendent remarks. So I would fully anticipate this will be the best of the best of the best. Well, you have a title.
Before I get into this, principals, are there any new staff members that you brought to introduce?
Yes, I have a new staff member, Jefferson, I'd like to introduce.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Yeah, thank you.
Angie Mills, principal at Jefferson. I'm very happy to introduce Elizabeth Meyer. She's a Valparaiso graduate. She has experience in special education, 5th grade, and kindergarten, and she is coming to Jefferson to teach 4th grade. And I just wanted to say thank you, and I'm really excited to get started.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Principals, others, Jen?
Yes. I have Mitch Freeman, who's going to be teaching music, and he needs to get home because he's got school yet. So, today's your last student day, right?
Yeah, I still have a teacher day tomorrow, so. Yeah, so.
He's going to be teaching music for us, and then Andrea Shook is a Plymouth grad, and she has finished the last part of the year up at Riverside as a replacement, so we've hired her on, so welcome both Mitch and Andrea.
Congratulations.
Anything else?
And Washington Discovery Academy, we are excited to have Kayla Sharp joining our team. She is a PHS grad and is currently working at Head Start and transitioning with us. So we are excited to have you. Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you very much, principals, and thank you to staff members. All right. 6.1, oh, excuse me, 5.1, where are we here?
How about 4.1?
This was supposed to be my desk, you put a little too much on it. Recently, the National Speech and Debate Association sent a letter to Plymouth Community Schools that David McKenzie has earned his 6th diamond for coaching speech and debate. This award signifies not only quality, but longevity in his coaching capacity. Congratulations to Dave for showing his continued commitment to students. 4.2, caring. At this year's senior awards grade class of 2017 received over $3 million in scholarships from colleges and community organizations. I would like to thank our community organizations for playing an active role in helping our students with their post-high school education and or training. 4.3, high expectations. I'd like to thank the central office staff. For the last 10 years, each person has shown a strong work ethic with a high degree of quality work. The office staff never misses a beat as they manage this multi-million-dollar business. They also show a high level of service as they go the extra mile for employees every day. Teamwork, 4.4. Congratulations to Brian Ames, Ryan Van Antwerp, and Lisa Wallen for working together so that both Plymouth High School and Lincoln Junior High could receive the Indiana State Music Association All Music Award for 2016-2017. We have a great music department. 4.5, integrity. Congratulations to Albert Hanselman, the vocational director, and Linda Holland, the Jessie director, for earning their IASPO certificate for business office specialist. This is a voluntary educational program that illustrates that each are committed to expanding their knowledge and improving every day. 4.6, enjoyment. This is a great day for our new superintendent, Andy Hartley. Andy has proven over the last couple of years that he has the ability and passion to take on this job. The corporation is in great shape with Andy as the new leader. I appreciate everything Andy has done and feel very comfortable turning over the reins to him. Congratulations, Andy. And one last thing, it is something that happens in most schools when the superintendent leaves. They go out and buy something inspirational for the school board president. And so I have just a token of my appreciation to Todd Samuelson for everything that he's done. This is for you. Go ahead and open it.
What I have for you, I can't bring to a public meeting. Maybe you shouldn't bring this to a public meeting.
Oh, this is fine.
Hickory, hickory, dock, crap.
He referenced this book in a speech that he did a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't realize he knew that was a book. So
I'm an avid reader.
that's all I have. The next meeting is July 11th. And right here in this room at 7 o'clock.
Thank you, Dan. The next item on the agenda is audience participation. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to make any comments before coming back to the board?
I have a question.
Who said that? Yes, sir.
I'm Father Theodosius. My question may not be unimportant. I'm certain that your new superintendent is not only very qualified, but may well be the most qualified. But there are certain things I'm troubled with. As I listen to you go around there, it sounds like you already made the decision and you made it in your executive session. You are right, you can have an executive session, but you have to do certain things. And I've called here several times and asked, and I've been told, I don't know what you're talking about, and no one's ever gotten back to me. Two things. There had to be a 48-hour notice that you were going to have the meeting, and your website isn't enough. And after the meeting, you had to certify that, in fact, the meeting did not do anything that violated the Indiana open meeting law. If, in fact, you haven't done that, you got to do it all over again, as well as you expose each other to personal liability, which is ridiculous. It just costs everybody money. My question is, where and when was the notice? Where and when was the certification? Adopting the minutes, which is on the agenda, is not the certification. At least how I write the law. I'm also a lawyer. That's my question. And I've had several people ask me, and they asked me, if I would ask that question of you. Where is the notice? Where is the certification? I can't even find it on your website.
I'm sorry?
I can't even find it on your website, which is not enough, according to the law.
I'm not going to respond to your question this evening, but we will respond, and I'm going to.
Well, I don't.
I'm going to.
Can I just ask why?
Not when I speak.
Because he doesn't know.
So when I'm going to refer it to our attorney and we'll respond to you. Are there any other questions or comments on the agenda?
I have one.
Name, please.
John Webster. It sounds like that the new junior high school is a done deal. I had just heard of it in the end of April, When, say, did this first get on the board's plans as far as that? And as far as the public, has there been any consideration or talk to the public about how a $50 million junior high school is going to affect the people that live here, the property owners, the owners that own the business, and how is it going to be paid for? Because I've done a little research on bond issues, and that I've found out most of them end up costing almost double as the bond was at first. I've talked to several people saying, hey, did by chance you hear that they are planning to do a new junior high school? And very few people had any idea. So I'm just asking, how did you notify people in the first time that it happened? Because I'm just saying, like, I just heard of it sometime in April. And it sounds like from what Dan had said here, that it's a done deal and you've already got a timetable and all of that. So I'm just curious because I am part of this town and I would like to know. I mean, it just seems like it was just rushed through. If I'm incorrect, can you tell me the date that it was first public of the new junior high school?
Thank you for your question. Do you want that one, or you want me to take it?
Well, I can talk a little bit about it. We first started talking about it in public meetings in 2013. Went through a couple different processes. One with architects, one then with a community group of stakeholders, and then finally we had a group from administrative assistants come in and do a facility study for us. And each of those things was brought to the meetings and
okay, so it has been a process that's been in the actual works. Have there been any studies, any considerations, or any talk of how that's going to affect the property owners or the owners of the business area?
As a matter of fact, that goes way back to the option K. When that was done, we knew that the debt from option K, which was, I don't remember the exact date, but that would be falling off in about 2020.
Was option K, that's a different bond issue?
When we built the Menominee,
okay,
renovated some of the other buildings.
So that's going to be paid off 2020?
That'll be paid off in 2020. So as that debt is paid off, the new debt for Lincoln will come on, and there won't be a change in taxes.
Okay, current taxes. Okay, so the school's going to be paid for by bonds?
Yes.
Okay, and that is, those aren't actually like bonds people buy, or is it funds that is federal funds managed by state, and then is it handled by somebody for the schools? Or, I mean, is that how the bond cash goes from point A, point B to point C? Okay.
No. Bonds are issued by our building corporation, and bonds are the traditional and typical way that public entities, schools are a public entity, raise capital for these types of projects. The bonds are issued through our building corporation as per Indiana statute. We have followed to a T the requirements of Indiana statute regarding public hearings, notification, and have gone exhaustively on how to, and again, going back to 20 years ago, this has been part of our financial strategy, overall strategy for managing not only our day-to-day dollars, but our debt structure. And knowing that Lincoln was kind of the last piece of the puzzle to our facilities, this is a strategy and a plan that did not begin in April of this year.
Okay, well, I was just saying that I had heard of it, and that was the first that I heard of
Well,
that.
that's not our issue.
I didn't say that it was your issue, I was just stating fact that that was the first that I had heard of it, and there are others that had. So is there a group that handles the bonds for the schools in town, statewide? I
What do you
mean,
mean a group?
is there, who handles these bonds? Is it the actual board,
I don't understand the question.
who either sells the bonds or issues the bonds or maintains the bonds?
The bonds are sold through our building corporation.
Okay,
Bonds are,
so the building corporation sells those bonds then?
correct.
Okay, and so there isn't any outside group, any other company?
No,
that-
the building corporation is not going out on the street corner selling.
Well,
The
okay,
bonds are issued through a process yet to be determined, but it typically will be through a competitive bid process. The bonds are purchased by an underwriter or an underwriting syndicate that will buy all or none of the bonds. And again, that's a very stringent process controlled by law on how the bonds are issued. The winning bidder or syndicate of underwriters that purchase those bonds will in turn sell those bonds to the secondary market. That secondary market very well could include individuals if you're interested in purchasing bonds and investing in our schools.
I am all about our schools.
Excuse me?
I said all about
Yeah,
our.
so they, if that's where you were headed, those bonds could be made available to the individuals, but we can't sell them. Bonds are typically in $5,000 denominations, and we're not going to sell them one at a time. The underwriter buys all of those, and they are the entity that in turn sells to the secondary market, trust, insurance companies, banks, et cetera.
Okay, now, they make a little bit of money off of the sale of the bonds and maintaining those bonds now.
Just like you make a little bit of money selling ice cream, they make a little bit of money
Yeah, a
selling
little
bonds.
bit. Okay, all right, I guess that's all I have at this point. All I'm trying to do is educate myself, and just for my personal point, and also I think it's something that he had brought up, I personally, and this is just my personal opinion, I think maybe the schools could be a little better about getting things out to the public, because just about every person that I even talked to or it itself came up, very few people knew that there was a plan to spend $50 on a new junior high school. And I'm all for anything that's good for the kids. I just want fiscal responsibility is all. So.
Other comments or questions?
Let us know that the $50 million is not just for Lincoln Junior High.
I'm done with that topic. Any other questions for this evening? Thank you for being here. Before I ask for a motion to adjourn, I'm going to get one last shot from my friend to the right here. No, I'm going to stay serious. You know, as I have worked with you, and again, we've had our opportunities for comments, et cetera, but I was struck by, and I don't know if that was your best of the best, but when we talk about the remarks that you provide, and we've done this for many months, many years, we divide that into areas of commitment to students, caring, high expectations, teamwork, integrity, and let's have some enjoyment. You know, really, Dan, you embody those and have for our school corporation. So again, this being your last official meeting, although I know that you'll continue to attend our meetings and ask questions that are extremely insightful, as is typical. But again, thank you for everything, and please enjoy your time.
I will. Thank you very much, everyone. One last thing, somebody handed me a note. I did read this today and forgot to put it in my notes. Kyle Kaufman's here, and he was recently named District 2 Principal of the Year. Assistant Principal of the Year.
Okay. At this point, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.